Draymond Green, 14 points, 15 rebounds, 8 assists, so close to triple-double, and he's got a little helper with him at the podium.
You were kind of at the, I guess, decision point of putting Looney in the starting lineup. Why did you think that was the right move? And then can you just talk about what he gave tonight?
I just thought we were getting physically dominated, and I know the worry was the offensive end and just how they were guarding, but we were getting dominated from the start. Like, when you look at the last 8 quarters prior to this game, we got dominated for 7 of them. In the fourth quarter of Game 4, we just pulled the game out because of Steph Curry's greatness. And so we just knew we needed to come out and establish an inside presence to start the game off and not worry so much about our scoring. And, like, you know, we'll figure out how to score the basketball, but we needed to establish an inside presence because they made it clear that's what they were trying to do. They made it clear that they were going to beat us up, and they were doing a good job of it. And inserting Loon back into the lineup changed that.
Did you know that Andrew Wiggins was going to have it this tonight, and what did you see from him, especially down the finish?
I thought he would have a good game because the reality is he's been playing very well throughout this playoff run, and he last game it wasn't one of his best, and so I knew that he'd come out and he'd have a big game, and I mean he was amazing on both sides of the ball. Tyus Jones 2 for 12. Tyus Jones had been hurting us the last couple games, and he took him out of the game. The way he rebounded the basketball, the way he protected the rim, he was absolutely incredible. So it wasn't shocking at all.
Draymond, as a close friend of Klay Thompson, what does it mean to you to see him out there throwing up the 6, back in his element after what he's been through?
It means everything. We went on a 2-year hiatus from the playoffs, and in large part due to his absence, and what he brings to the table. And I know for most people that's three-point shooting. For us, that's a competitive edge that no one else on this team has, And I know I get a lot of the credit for that side of things and just bringing the intensity, but like I tell y'all all the time, one of the toughest guys and most competitive guys I've ever played with. And no, probably the toughest and most competitive player I've ever played with. And it showed up tonight. You knew right away he was coming out fire. And 11 for 22, 8 for 14 from 3. It's great to see. 8 rebounds. He's been rebounding all playoffs. 3 block shots. He was all over the place. It was beautiful game.
Draymond, I have 2 questions for you. One, you said you needed a bigger presence inside. You guys had 70 rebounds. How do you think you performed in that area?
I thought it was great. And like I said, a large part due to Loon. But you look across the board, 11 rebounds, 15, 22, 8, and 7. I mean, it don't get much better than that. That's just your starting lineup alone. So it doesn't get much better than that. And we needed to establish that inside. I'm exhausted, by the way. I am exhausted. But we needed to establish that. I told myself for multiple days that I was going to come in this press conference and talk about their grittying and their whoop that trick and everything else, and the only thing I can do is give my respect to that team. They earned that. There was a lot of talk in this series of fouls and this and that, and this should be reviewed and that should be reviewed, and I think it really started to take away from what was a great series with 2 amazing teams. And so that team, that's a group of young guys who, obviously you get to the business side of things and you got to keep that together. But, I mean, that's a group of young guys that they're hungry, they're talented, they're athletic. They got it. And, it'll be good to see their progression over these next few years and where they can take it, because that's an incredible young team, man. You know, they can be special. They can be really special.
Draymond, you had 14, 15, and 8. I know you're not a numbers guy, but you brought the afterburners from the jump. How important was it for you to bring that energy from the jump? How much of that was a response to Game 5 and not wanting a Game 7?
I didn't want to get back on a plane. That was one underrated thing in this series, is a 4.5-hour flight, which was brutal. So I just didn't want to get back on a plane. And, you know, it was less about playing in Memphis and more about getting on the 4.5-hour flight. Like, I just didn't want to get on. And then, you know, something came to my phone earlier. A guy saying I'm scared to shoot the basketball. Right? Scared and me in the same senses is like brutal, you know. But you got a big ogre on TV talking about what Draymond say ain't the gospel. It is the gospel. What I say is the gospel. And, you know, when you say that multiple times, like on several different segments, you must think what I say the gospel. So, you know, you got to come out and shut some guys up sometimes. And you know, I like to show, you know, when you got people out there just talking out the side of their neck, you know, or anybody can make the pass Draymond make, like, that's just stupid. I mean, like, these are people who get employed to talk on TV about our game. And, you know, it's anybody can make that pass. You make that pass. We would love to see it. I played against the guy, by the way. I'm talking about Kendrick Perkins, for those of y'all that don't know. I'm never ducking no smoke. As the Memphis Grizzlies towels say, I don't duck smoke. Like, anybody can make that pass. Like, you couldn't. So, good luck. So, you know, you just got to come out and shut people up sometimes. And it was very fun to do.
Kevon finished with 22 rebounds. I think he put a career high in minutes, including I think the last 17. Looked exhausted at times, but was getting huge rebounds. Just what can you say about his performance tonight?
It was absolutely incredible. You know, we always talk about Loon being the ultimate true professional, and this series went away from him. And last series too. And yeah, he stayed ready, and that's, you know, I give a lot of credit to our coaching staff for trusting in us. You know, Steve and Mike and you know, our entire staff, and really trying to figure this out. You know, like, this was not an easy series. And then when Ja went down, you know, we realized after last game, like, we have to almost adjust as if we're starting an entirely different series, because that was a totally different team we played against the last, 3 games? 2 games, 3 games. It's a totally different team. And so, I mean, Kevon is, you know, he's been one of those guys that has been a mainstay in everything that we do. And no matter